There are places in this world that look like they belong in a fairy tale. And then there is Scotland, a place where the fairy tales were born. Welcome to a land of jagged, mist-shrouded mountains, deep lochs hiding ancient secrets, and castles that have withstood sieges, kings, and the relentless test of time. In this video, I am taking you on the ultimate journey through one of the most breathtakingly beautiful and fiercely proud nations on Earth. From the cobblestone streets of ancient cities to the very edge of the world in the Outer Hebrides. We are going to explore the history, the culture, and the wild nature of Scotland. Buckle up, this is going to be epic. Before we hit the road, let's understand what makes Scotland. Scotland, it is a country defined by its fierce independence and ingenuity. Historically, this land was inhabited by the Celtic Picts, who famously held off the mighty Roman Empire. It is a nation that fought brutal wars of independence to secure its freedom, birthing legends like William Wallace and Robert the Bruce. But Scotland isn't just a museum of the past. Economically, it is a modern powerhouse, from the oil and renewable energy rushing out of the North Sea to its largest export, Scotch whisky, a multi-billion-dollar industry known as liquid gold. And of course, there is tourism. Millions flock here every year to experience the culture, the warmth of the Scottish people, and a landscape that feels almost alive. Let's start our journey where so many do, the capital. Welcome to Edinburgh, the Athens of the North. It is a city split in two. The winding medieval streets of the Old Town, and the elegant Georgian architecture of the New Town. Dominating the skyline is Edinburgh Castle, sitting atop an extinct volcano. Inside these walls, you will find the honours of Scotland, the oldest crown jewels in Britain. Walking down the Royal Mile, you can feel the centuries of history under your boots. The Royal Mile is Edinburgh's most famous historic street, running through the heart of the Old Town from Edinburgh Castle to the Palace of Holyrood House. Tucked right into the heart of Edinburgh is Victoria Street. It is famous for its vibrant colours, its sweeping cobblestone curve, and a very magical rumour that it is the real-life inspiration behind Harry Potter's Diagon Alley. For a total change of pace, head down to Dean Village. Tucked right along the water of Leith, this historic, peaceful neighbourhood feels like a hidden fairy tale right in the middle of the city. But to truly see Edinburgh, you have to climb. Over there is Calton Hill, dotted with its Grecian monuments, offering a perfect sunrise view. And for the adventurous, there is Arthur's Seat, the highest peak in Holyrood Park, offering a panoramic view that will leave you absolutely speechless. Just outside the capital, we find a marvel of Victorian engineering, the Forth Bridge. Opened in 1890. This massive red steel cantilever bridge is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. UNESCO recognises it for both its technical achievement and its striking industrial beauty. It is a symbol of Scotland's industrial prowess, standing proudly alongside its modern road bridge siblings. As we push into central Scotland, the landscape begins to blend myth with modern engineering. Towering 100 feet into the air are the Kelpies, the largest equine sculptures in the world. They honour the horse-powered heritage that once drove Scottish industry and transport, especially in the canal and heavy industry era. At the same time, the name comes from the shape-shifting water spirits of Scottish folklore, which gives the site a distinctly local imagination. Just a stone's throw away is the Falkirk Wheel. It is the world's only rotating boat lift, seamlessly connecting the Forth and Clyde Canal with the Union Canal. It opened in 2002 and instantly became one of Scotland's most distinctive modern visitor attractions. What makes it so cinematic is that it transforms infrastructure into spectacle. Boats rise through the air as if the canal itself has become a moving sculpture. From Falkirk, the journey naturally leads to Stirling, one of the most important places in Scottish history. Stirling Castle stands on a volcanic crag that guarded the lowest crossing of the River Forth for centuries, which gave it immense strategic value. Historic Environment Scotland describes it as a symbol of Scottish independence and national pride, and it is closely tied to figures such as William Wallace, Robert the Bruce, Mary Queen of Scots, and Bonnie Prince Charlie. They say, "He who holds Stirling holds Scotland." Stirling was not just another royal residence, it was a hinge point between Highlands and Lowlands, between invasion and resistance, between medieval warfare and Renaissance court life. Then comes Glasgow, Scotland's largest city and one of the cultural engines of the nation. Edinburgh may be the capital of pageantry and skyline, but Glasgow has its own power, built along the river Clyde and shaped by trade, shipbuilding, industry, migration, and music. UNESCO recognises Glasgow as a creative city of music, and the city is widely described as the musical capital of Scotland. It is also a place where medieval roots still survive at Glasgow Cathedral, where the early burh first formed around the shrine of St Mungo. For travellers, Glasgow offers a different face of Scotland. It is bold, urban, friendly, creative, and less about postcard perfection than about energy and character. Leaving the city behind, we cross the Highland boundary fault into Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park. This is the gateway to the wild. Loch Lomond is the largest inland stretch of water in Great Britain, surrounded by dense forests and striking peaks. It is a place to breathe, to hike, and to let the majesty of nature take over. Following the water west, we reach Oban, the seafood capital of Scotland. This bustling port town is the main gateway to the Hebridean Islands. Dominating the town is McCaig's Tower, a quirky, unfinished monument that looks like a Roman Colosseum. Grab some fish and chips, watch the ferries depart, and get ready, because the true Highlands are calling. Leaving the city behind, we journey north into what is arguably the most dramatic landscape in all of Britain, Glencoe. Carved out by ancient glaciers and forged by volcanic fire. This glen is famous for its monumental slopes, its brooding weather, and an atmosphere so heavy you can almost feel it in the air. It is a place of haunting beauty, forever tied to one of the darkest episodes in Scottish memory, the tragic 1692 massacre of Glencoe. The sheer scale of the scenery here is overwhelming. Standing as a colossal sentinel at the entrance to the glen is Buchail Etive Moor, the great herdsman of Etive, rising up like a jagged stone pyramid. Further in, the skyline is completely dominated by the Three Sisters, whose towering ridges and deep valleys have become a mecca for walkers, climbers, and anyone looking to experience the raw, untamed heart of Scotland. At the foot of Scotland's greatest mountain sits Fort William, the largest town in the Highlands and a practical base for exploring Lochs and the West Highlands. But the true giant here is Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the British Isles. For many travellers, climbing it is a bucket list challenge. Even for those who never attempt the summit, its sheer presence shapes the entire landscape. Standard mountain track can take 7 to 9 hours, which is a reminder that Ben Nevis is not merely scenic. It is serious mountain terrain. Every year, thousands of climbers take on its unpredictable weather to reach the summit, rewarded with views that stretch all the way to Northern Ireland on a clear day. If you are a Harry Potter fan, you know exactly where we are. The Glenfinnan Viaduct is an engineering masterpiece curving gracefully through the valley. Try to time your visit to see the Jacobite steam train cross over. The surrounding landscape adds even more depth, because Glenfinnan is also associated with the Jacobite Rising of 1745. This is where Prince Charles Edward Stuart raised his standard. Eilean Donan Castle may be the single most photographed castle in Scotland, and it earns that reputation every time it appears on screen. Set on a small island where three great sea lochs meet, it looks almost too perfect to be real. Yet, behind the beauty is a long history. The site is associated with St. Donan, a first castle likely rose here in the 13th century. The stronghold was badly damaged in 1719 during Jacobite conflict, and the ruin remained for nearly 2 centuries before being restored in the early 20th century, and reopened in 1932. Leaving the mainland and the iconic Eilean Dunrobin Castle behind, the drive over to the Isle of Skye genuinely feels like crossing the border into a myth. Skye is without a doubt one of the most famous landscapes in all of Scotland. Because it somehow manages to contain every single image you have ever dreamed of when imagining the wild Highlands. It is a place of magic, mist, and towering stone. Our first stop takes us up the Trottenish Peninsula to face the Old Man of Storr. Formed millions of years ago by a massive ancient landslide, this colossal 160-foot pinnacle of jagged basalt rock is visible for miles. It looks almost like a jagged tooth, or, as local legend claims, the thumb of a giant who was buried beneath the earth. Standing in its shadow, you instantly understand why this monument has been a beacon for sailors, travellers, and storytellers for centuries. Just a little further north lies the Quarry, an otherworldly mountain pass that feels like stepping directly into a fantasy novel. This is part of the same ancient landslip that created the store, but incredibly, the earth here is still moving today. This area is absolute geological theatre, with its towering cliffs, hidden plateaus, and bizarre rock architecture. It is a landscape of constant drama and shifting weather that will leave you completely speechless. As we hit the coastline, the drama doesn't stop. This is Kilt Rock, aptly named for its towering, hexagonal basalt columns that perfectly mimic the pleats of a traditional Scottish tartan kilt. But the real star here is Melt Falls, plunging almost 200 feet straight off the cliff edge and crashing into the Atlantic Ocean below. It is easily one of the most mesmerizing and powerful coastal viewpoints on the entire island. But Skye isn't only about the rugged north. As we journey south, the skyline is suddenly dominated by the Ceilidh, without a doubt, the most formidable mountain range in the entire UK. Resting in the shadow of these dark, jagged peaks is something entirely different. The fairy pools. Tucked into Glen Brittle, this series of cascading waterfalls and crystal clear, icy blue pools draws hikers and wild swimmers from around the globe. According to folklore, this is where the fairies come to bathe, and looking at the vibrant, almost unnatural colour of the water, it isn't hard to believe. Just down the road is Sligachan. It might seem like a simple roadside pause, but it offers one of the absolute most iconic views in Scotland. Here, an ancient stone bridge crosses the rushing river, perfectly framing the vast, imposing Killin Mountains behind it. It is a historic crossroads for climbers, and local legend actually says that if you dip your face in the freezing river here for 7 seconds, you will be granted eternal beauty. Honestly, the view alone is worth the brain freeze. Finally, we journey to the very edge of the island, Ness Point. Perched on dramatically sheer cliffs at the most westerly tip of Skye, this solitary lighthouse looks out over the endless Atlantic horizon. It is a phenomenal spot for watching whales and dolphins, but more than that, it provides one of those haunting end-of-the-world images that travel filmmakers dream of capturing. The Isle of Skye is essential to any Scottish road trip because it perfectly captures the emotional core of the country's landscape. It is wild, it is unforgivingly beautiful, and it is just strange enough to make you believe that magic might actually exist. If you thought Scotland was all dark mountains and moody skies, welcome to the Outer Hebrides. The Isle of Harris and Lewis boasts beaches that regularly rival the Caribbean in global rankings. Sailorbost, Shorebost and Crabadall offer miles of pristine, blindingly white sand meeting crystal clear turquoise waters. The water might be freezing, but the sheer untouched, wild beauty of these coastal fringes is unparalleled. Leaving the islands behind, we return to the mainland to tackle what is rightfully known as Scotland's answer to Route 66, the legendary North Coast 500. Stretching for 500 unforgettable miles, this epic, looping route wraps around the very northernmost edges of the country. It pulls you far away from the cities and straight into some of the wildest, most remote, and dramatically beautiful coastal scenery in all of Europe. From towering sea cliffs and hidden white sand beaches to single-track roads winding through ancient mountains, the NC 500 isn't just a scenic drive. It is the ultimate untamed road trip. Along the east coast of our NC 500 journey lies Dunrobin Castle, looking more like a French chateau than a Highland fortress. Its towering conical spires and immaculately manicured gardens are stunning. Yet, it is deeply rooted in Highland history, having been home to the Earls and Dukes of Sutherland since the 13th century and recorded as a stronghold in 1401. Pushing to the very northeastern tip of the British mainland, we find the Duncansby Stacks. Towering over 200 feet into the air. These massive, jagged red sandstone pillars jut out of the violent, churning waters of the Pentland Firth, exactly like the teeth of a drowned dragon. Battered by centuries of relentless storms and echoing with the cries of thousands of nesting seabirds, this coastline is untamed nature at its absolute finest. Standing on the grassy precipice, looking out at the endless, churning horizon. It truly and profoundly feels like you have reached the edge of the world. Leaving the mainland behind, A short but dramatic ferry ride across the turbulent waters of the Pentland Firth brings us to the windswept Orkney Islands. Here, history isn't just measured in centuries, it is measured in millennia. Welcome to Skara Brae, often called the Scottish Pompeii. This remarkably preserved Neolithic stone village was hidden beneath the sand dunes until a massive winter storm tore the coast apart and uncovered it in 1850. The mind-blowing truth is that this settlement is older than both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids of Giza. Looking down into these 5,000-year-old sunken homes, complete with their original stone beds, central hearth and dressers, gives you an incredibly profound, almost haunting connection to the ancient people who carved out a life on this very coast. Back on the mainland, Inverness provides the urban heart of the Highlands. It is a great base for exploring the region, and that is exactly how many travellers experience it. A city of the River Ness, cathedral, castle views, and easy access to some of the most famous scenery in Scotland. Just to the southwest stretches Loch Ness, holding more fresh water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined. Its deep, murky waters are famous for their mythical monster. Nessie may belong more to folklore and popular imagination than to science. But that is part of the loch's power. The legend took off in 1933 and has never really left. Southeast of Inverness, the Cairngorms National Park opens up another vast chapter of Highland Scotland. At 4,528 square kilometres, it is the largest national park in the United Kingdom and covers about 6% of Scotland's land mass. It is home to a quarter of the UK's rare and endangered species. Nearly half its area is considered wildland. And millions of visitors come each year to experience mountains, forests, plateau, lochs, wildlife, and long-distance trails. Taking a quick detour to the Moray coastline, we find Fiddle Rock, a spectacular natural sea arch made of quartzite that looks exactly like the tip of a fiddle bow resting in the sea. We are making our way down the east coast now, and our next stop is Aberdeen. The second you arrive, you will immediately see why it is famous as the Granite City. Almost all the historic architecture here is built from this beautiful, locally quarried grey granite. The stone has a super high mica content, meaning when the sun comes out, the entire city literally sparkles. Aberdeen is also known as the offshore oil capital of Europe. So it has this incredibly unique mix of booming, modern industry right alongside historic, shimmering stone buildings and gorgeous, sweeping beaches. South of Aberdeen, perched on a dramatic cliff top above the North Sea, stands Dunnottar Castle, one of the most theatrical ruins in Scotland. For over 1,000 years, it played a crucial role in Scottish history, and it is especially famous for helping save the honours of Scotland, the Scottish crown jewels, from Cromwell's army in the 1650s. The location is almost impossibly dramatic, with steep drops, broken stone walls, and sea all around. Heading inland along the River Dee, we enter the majestic and lush landscape of Royal Deeside. Here stands Balmoral Castle, purchased by Queen Victoria in 1852. This sprawling estate is a stunning example of Scottish baronial architecture. Tucked into the towering Cairngorms National Park, it has served as the ultimate private sanctuary for the British royal family for generations. A quiet, regal escape into the wild beauty of the Highlands. Further south in Angus stands the magnificent Glamis Castle. With its towering turrets and grand estate, it is a place of incredible contrasts. Famous worldwide as the atmospheric setting for Shakespeare's Macbeth. It also holds deep modern royal ties as the beloved childhood home of the Queen Mother. Yet, Glamis hides a darker side. It carries the chilling reputation of being the most haunted castle in Scotland. We have finally made it to our last stop before completing our massive Scottish loop. And we are ending on a high note in the beautiful coastal town of St Andrews. If you are a sports fan, you already know this place is legendary. It is literally the home of golf. People travel from all over the planet just to walk the old course and get a picture on the famous little stone Swilcan Bridge. Yet, it is also a city of ancient intellect, proudly housing Scotland's oldest university. As our road trip comes to a close, we find ourselves walking among the towering 12th century ruins of St Andrews Cathedral, perched dramatically on the cliffs above the North Sea. It offers a moment of quiet reflection, a perfect, timeless finale to our Scottish adventure. Scotland is more than just a place on a map. It is a feeling. It is the smell of rain on the heather, the taste of salt in the air on the Hebrides, the echo of bagpipes through an ancient city street, and the absolute silence of a Highland glen. It is a country that respects its violent, fascinating history, while warmly welcoming the future, and anyone who comes to visit. I hope this journey has inspired you to pack your bags and experience this magic for yourself. Thank you so much for travelling with me. If you love this adventure, hit that like button, subscribe for more documentaries around the world, and let me know in the comments which part of Scotland you want to visit first. Until next time, keep exploring.